Well, let's go straight over to the world's greatest living expert on the gruesome twosome. She is, of course, our royal expert over there in Los Angeles, the great Kinsey Schofield. Hi, Kinsey.
Hi, Kev. Yeah, it's been a busy week for Harry and Meghan news. Yeah, they'll disappear for months at a time, and then like a ton of bricks, overshare.
Right, let's go through this one by one. I mean, first of all, they've announced, we're going to get to all of these in the fullness of time. First of all, they've announced another one of their weird semi-royal, pretend royal tours. They're going to go to Colombia in South America towards the end of the year to talk about... they're so lost in sort of Californian psychobabble space that I never really understand what the hell they're on about. They want to tackle cyberbullying, online exploitation and the mental health impacts of these threats. Great. Hope it works out for them. Not sure what they're talking about, but there you are. Also, another story that the King, apparently, and we can take this as read because this story appeared in People's magazine over there in America, which is basically Harry and Meghan's unofficial mouthpiece. They feed information through People magazine in America. The King is no longer taking Harry's calls. There's radio silence between the two. So we need to talk about that in a second. But in terms of their cyberbullying online exploitation project, this cropped up earlier today. They've been on American television to talk about something. I mean, you're American, you're in California, maybe you can translate for us, but let's have a look at the golden couple, the King and Queen of California, on American telly earlier.
What exactly is the Sussex brand at this point? Are they humanitarians? Activists? Ex-royals on a global image rehabilitation tour? Or are they simply celebrities clinging to relevance? Colombia. An interesting choice. A country with deep social struggles, economic disparity, and ongoing conversations about justice and equity. So, a prime opportunity for meaningful engagement, right? But let's ask a practical question. Why them? Cyberbullying and mental health awareness are crucial topics, no doubt. But what credentials do Harry and Meghan bring to the table beyond personal anecdotes and polished speeches? Their past initiatives, like the Archewell Foundation's vague advocacy, haven't exactly led to groundbreaking policy changes. And when their own online critics are dismissed as mere haters, how do they expect to lead this discussion with credibility?
Okay, could you translate, please, Kinsey? What's he on about? What's he talking about?
I mean, Kevin, it's
I didn't say it was going to be easy.
Yeah. Do I get extra points? Kevin, it surprises me that Harry and Meghan would spend 3 solid years branding themselves as victims, the media and the royals being the bad guys, expressing consistent weakness and sensitivity, and then want to be known as an authority on anything other than victimhood. You know, people look at Harry and Meghan and they see attention seekers or perpetual complainers, and I think probably most damaging, hypocrites, eco-warriors who have never met a private jet that didn't suit their luxe lifestyle, litigious over violations of privacy while violating the privacy of your own family members within the pages of Spare. Meghan taking up the Time's Up movement under her royal platform, financial equality for women in the workplace, then paying the only female in a leadership position at Archewell less than half of what the highest paid male at Archewell earns. You know, they broadcast, broadcasting to the entire world that your wife is not safe in the UK, but taking her to Nigeria and Colombia, where the US and the UK have issued severe travel warnings, appointing yourself the internet police while your fan base spreads malicious and libelous, truly libelous stories about your brother online that involves murder and domestic violence. And to top it off, working so closely with America's CBS media. That's Oprah Winfrey, James Corden, Stephen Colbert, Anderson Cooper, and now CBS's Jane Pauley. And I know you remember this, Kevin, when CBS was the only outlet that showed those images of Princess Diana slowly dying in the back seat of her car after her crash in Paris. That was CBS. You want to talk about a violation of privacy? Diana didn't give CBS consent to broadcast her last moments on this earth. And Prince Harry knows that to be true, yet jumps at every opportunity to talk to one of their cameras. The only thing Harry and Meghan are an authority on is how to be bullies and alienate your family, a skill not endorsed by Dale Carnegie. I don't think anyone takes this pair seriously about anything.
And what they are talking through that haze of sort of Californian psychobabble, as I say, is the potential danger online to children, and that parents have to be first responders. What is he talking about? I think he was trying to warn that lots of parents, you know, won't be qualified to see when their kids might be in serious danger because of online harm, whatever that might be. It just seems to me, Kinsey, that this is just a sort of vague cause that makes them sound kind of caring and sharing, more virtue signalling from a couple, you know, who want to be seen as wonderful. But as you just outlined, if you look into their history, they're really not that wonderful, are they?
They've spent 3 solid years branding themselves as victims. And now they want to be known as authorities on something other than that? This is where public perception starts to crack. There's a well-documented pattern. Harry and Meghan step into the limelight, speak about personal struggles, receive sympathy, and then pivot to a cause. The issue isn't that they care about these topics, it's that their execution lacks depth. Take their environmental activism. They speak about climate responsibility, yet reports show them regularly flying private. When challenged, their defense is often that they do so for security reasons. But here's the thing. Other high-profile figures, world leaders, philanthropists, manage to champion these causes while practicing what they preach. And let's not forget, this isn't about a couple simply trying to live their lives in peace. They left the royal family, citing privacy concerns, only to court global attention through Netflix deals, podcasts, and tell-all books. When privacy is selective, it stops being privacy. It becomes strategy.
Well, and I have just a really hard time with anything online bullying related when their fan base are the most notorious bullies on the internet. It's if you want to start at home, go tell the people that you personally call and thank for online donations when they crowdfund and things like that for you. Pick up the phone and call them and thank them for that. Could you also tell them to chill out on the internet because their rhetoric is hateful? I do think that they're virtue signaling. And I also think that people aren't ready to accept them as in leadership. I think that they spent too much time trying to tear down the institution, and people resent that. And they also think, wow, these two are wildly entitled. And I mean, I just don't think that people want to see them as an authority figure on this topic.
Now let's move on to, I mean, you know, everything you say I completely agree with. So we find them terribly annoying. We find them hypocritical. And perhaps the King does too, because, as I say, their unofficial mouthpiece at US magazine People, the People magazine, is reporting that Harry is complaining to friends that Charles will no longer take his phone calls and won't even reply to him when he writes him letters. So he gets, a friend of Harry said, is all he ever gets is the King is unavailable right now. So it looks as if the King has had enough, the royal family have had enough. I mean, they haven't trusted Harry and Meghan for a long time, particularly Harry. They don't want to talk to him because they feel that anything they ever say to him ends up in People magazine or in other media outlets. So he seems to have been cut off and he doesn't like it.
Look, I think that pointing out that this is coming from People magazine is crucial because as you've said, this is a magazine that they work with pretty regularly and give exclusives to. Friendly reminder that this is coming from Prince Harry's camp, and it was a spokesperson for Harry that said the King's schedule would not permit a visit when Harry was in town for the Invictus Games 10th anniversary, and we later discovered that the truth was that Prince Harry was offered the opportunity to stay at one of his father's properties, a property that would have allowed him easier access to his
James's palace, which is, he said it wasn't safe. It wasn't property
that was much more safe than a hotel.
Exactly.
And Prince Harry, his spokesperson told us the king was too busy, but it was actually Prince Harry that opted to stay in a local hotel versus staying within arm's reach of his father. So we need to be very considerate of the fact that this is Harry's truth. We're hearing Harry's truth. I'd like to point out two things about this story. Congratulations, Harry. Now you know what it's like to be Thomas Markle, who has reached out to his daughter for years and hasn't, he's not getting a call back. And also, I interviewed someone today on Kinsey Schofield Unfiltered who said that Harry and Meghan do purposely stir the pot with the press, trying to manipulate the media. And I think we need to keep that in mind when we see headlines like this. This is the type of headline that is beneficial towards Prince Harry. It makes people sympathetic towards him, and maybe that's the ulterior motive.
Historically, monarchs have had strained relationships with their children. King George V and Edward VIII, Queen Victoria and her eldest son, Bertie. But the difference? Those rifts played out privately, not as part of a public spectacle. Here's what stands out. This news didn't come from Buckingham Palace. It appeared in People magazine, a publication widely regarded as a mouthpiece for the Sussexes. So, who benefits from this narrative? If Harry and Meghan wanted reconciliation, why release a story that frames Harry as the rejected son? It feels more like PR positioning, creating sympathy for Harry while painting Charles as emotionally distant. But let's remember, Charles has been known to forgive much. He embraced Camilla despite public outcry. He tolerated years of turbulence with his own parents. If even he is choosing silence, what does that tell us?
Now, I think we discussed this last week, Kinsey, and I certainly discussed it on my show, What Just Happened. Closer magazine over here reported that Harry was planning potentially an extended trip back to Britain this summer to try to mend the bridges. I mean, good luck with that. That's not, forget it. The royal family have had enough of you, mate. You can't just turn up and say, oh, sorry about calling you all racists. Sorry about raining on you from a great height to over 300 pages in my nasty little book, Spare. Sorry about all the awful things I've said and the awful things Meghan. Sorry about that, but can we be friends again? It's not that simple. But nevertheless, there do seem to be these persistent reports that he is going to come back to Britain to try to mend bridges, won't bring Meghan because he says that she won't be safe, won't bring the kids, which means that there are fears that King Charles, like Thomas Markle, may never see his grandchildren again. But do you think he might come back to Britain?
I think that the activity we've seen in the last 2 weeks shows us that that is not a realistic option. And I don't even think that that's really on his agenda, Kevin. If you think about sitting down with ITV and suggesting that your dead grandmother, who can no longer speak for herself, is supporting you in all of your litigation. I mean, that was wildly inappropriate and upset a lot of people at the palace. I won't speak for the king, but I imagine that he wasn't thrilled by Prince Harry saying that his grandmother, the late Queen Elizabeth, was endorsing his behavior there. And then you have this sit down with, I don't know how you interpreted that comment by Jane Pauley, but to me, she said something about wanting to help your children. I felt like that was the American media trying to allude to the fact that the king did not try to help Prince Harry and Meghan Markle throughout their difficulties while they were under the royal family umbrella. I felt like that was the soundbite she was trying to get. That old
nonsense. Now, just a last point, as I say, I just alluded to it, Kinsey. There's been more stories in the press over here that because Harry has now stated, he stated on ITV last week over here in Britain, I won't bring Meghan back, and by extension it's pretty certain he won't bring his kids back. He says they won't be safe. So the King Charles, every second of his life is accounted for. He can't just say, you know what, I'm going to get on a plane, I'm going to go and see Harry and the grandkids in California. He can't do this. The mountain can't go to Mohammed. Mohammed has to come to the mountain. So Harry has to bring his kids to Britain for the King to see him. He's not going to do this. We're told the King is really concerned now that he may never see his grandchildren again. The last time he saw them was 2 years ago.
I think that that's a fair concern, because I'm telling you, Kevin, I would stake my own life on it. The King will ensure all of the safety in the world for Harry and Meghan if they want to come visit and bring the grandchildren over. It would automatically happen because they would be on their way to see the King. That is a no-brainer. If Prince Harry wants to bring his children over to see King Charles, he has all of the security in the world that he would need. The fact that they'll hop on a plane and go to Nigeria, hop on a plane and go to Colombia, all of these places, but say that the UK is not safe enough for them is absolutely ludicrous. This is just an excuse for Meghan to not have to go back because she feels unwanted there and unpopular, and that's not a comfortable feeling for her.
Yeah. Britain is unsafe for them, but they're off to Colombia, one of the most dangerous countries on the face of the earth. As we say, the hypocrisy is off the scale.
Public figures often struggle with the practice what you preach dilemma, but with Harry and Meghan, the contradictions pile up. Take their stance on media intrusion. They sued tabloids for invading their privacy, yet willingly shared intimate family moments in their Netflix documentaries. Meghan spoke about female empowerment but was later accused of underpaying female staff. This pattern erodes trust. It's not that people expect perfection, it's that they expect consistency. And when inconsistencies are called out, the Sussexes don't engage in dialogue. They dismiss criticism as unfair or biased. But public trust isn't won by avoiding scrutiny. It's won by responding to it with transparency. Harry and Meghan aren't just former royals, they are a brand. And every appearance, every cause they support, every interview they give is part of their ongoing effort to define themselves post-royalty. But brands require trust. And when actions and messaging don't align, that trust fades. If they truly want to be changemakers, it's time to move beyond curated activism. Show the work, not just the words. So here we are, once again discussing the paradox that is Harry and Meghan. They claim to seek privacy yet remain the architects of their own headlines. They champion noble causes yet struggle to embody the values they promote. And perhaps most critically, they present themselves as the victims of royal rigidity while employing the very same calculated PR maneuvers they criticize the monarchy for using. But here's the thing, public patience wears thin when storytelling overtakes substance. At some point, people stop asking, what are they saying? And start asking, what are they actually doing? History teaches us that real influence isn't built on controversy alone. Diana left behind a legacy of action, hands in the work, feet on the ground. The Queen maintained respect through consistency and quiet duty. Even Charles, once written off as a lost prince, found his place through decades of meaningful advocacy. For Harry and Meghan, the window for reinvention is narrowing. If they want to be more than just headline material, they'll need to do something radical. Let the work speak for itself. Drop the spectacle. Show up. Follow through. Because in the end, sincerity doesn't need a press release. It simply proves itself over time. Thanks for watching and follow for more.